What if I told you you could be a Space Marine? Would you say yes? Would you say no? Personally, I'm saying yes. I want to get so giganormous that I can't even fit through my door. That's how you already know what we're going to talk about. We're talking about Space Marines, but more specifically, we're talking about these cool cats I'd like to call pseudo Space Marines. So what is a pseudo Space Marine? Well, let me give you some examples. Corpharon, Luther, Savona. These are the ones I can think of off the top of my head. If you don't know those names, Heresy. Oh, you don't even do that. Go to Lexicanum, just look up the names if you're unfamiliar with them. You'll get some background information. You'll see some sources of where to go to read them. But, they are essentially what I would consider proto-Space Marines. If I didn't say Luther, if I did, I have a little bit of a cold. I'm not Angron's Kama's son today. Today I'm Nurgle's sickest boy. So we'll get over that. But anyway, yes, proto-Space Marines are really cool. And you're thinking, oh, Connor, why are we even talking about this, man? Who's seen Corpharon in forever? Savona, I haven't read the Fabby Spell books. Luther, he's a loser. Luther the loser, if you will. Well, very creative insult, dear viewer, but I have to say, I think they're cool, and this is my channel, and this is my allocated time to talk to you about things I'd like to nerd out on, so stay with me. Stay a while. You might learn something. I might learn something, so, But, no. They're cool. They really are cool because I sort of put them in the same category as Perpetuals. So there's, everything we're used to over here, Space Marines, the Xenos, the Warp, Demons, all this mumbo jumbo, and then stuff that we know about but hasn't really been sort of expanded upon, or there's no point in expanding upon it. So it's kind of in its own linear bubble of cool stuff that is gonna maybe get hints of lore now and again. Like Perpetuals and these pseudo Space Marines, they're there in this weird contextual, two-way mirror where it's like, damn, they're really cool, but we're not going to know a lot about them, and they're not going to show up super duper frequently in the main setting as it is now. So I figured, why not just talk about them and have some fun with them now? So these pseudo Space Marines are basically people who I've mentioned who've been genetically modified to the point where you would consider them stronger, more efficient, smarter than any baseline human. And, whoa, Connor, what about, augmetics? What about gene enhancement? Yes, that kind of sort of implies what I'm talking about, but it's done to a much more sophisticated, process where it's like, you give someone steroids, you don't know if they're going to hyper respond or not. You don't know if they're going to get jacked and stacked. But if you give them the Emperor's, genetic enhancements, when he's overseeing it, when the brightest minds are overseeing your genetic enhancement, you're going to get giga swole. In layman terms, you're gonna get up there in strength and everything, but you're not gonna reach Space Marine level. You're either gonna be just below it or maybe parallel to it, where you're just there, but you'll never exceed it. You get what I'm saying? So Corpharon is a good example of this. Little too old to be a Space Marine, pretty much did a bunch of surgeries and genetic enhancements and whatnot to sort of put him on par or a little bit below normal Space Marines. Luther, I would say the same thing, genetic enhancements, yada, yada, yada. No, I don't know if he has power armor or not, but he probably has some equivalent. But he is stronger than most baseline humans, obviously, but he does not scale up to, normal Space Marines. That just doesn't work. Savona, if you've read the Fabby Spile books, she's just regular warrior, gets blessed by Slanesh, basically was growing to the point where she fits in power armor now, basically a pseudo Marine. If you're going to come into the comments and be like, no women can't be in power armor. Listen, brother, it happened. I'm going to say it like it is. She's basically a pseudo Space Marine. You don't like it, you can just write a story where she gets absolutely giga murdered by Fabius or something. It did happen though. She is a good example. There's another one of this lady who was captured by Hansu's warband, and this guy 4X. I don't think that's his name. I think his name is 4X, but I'm going to call him 4X. 4X basically just was sleeping, and then his armor's calling to this lady, and then she becomes an avatar of Khorne, and she fits into the pseudo Marine thing. We can argue semantics and be like, oh, she's a champion of chaos now, an avatar of Khorne. Sure, but let's not get semantical up in here. We're going to call it like it is, pseudo Space Marines. So what do they all have in common? Obviously, they've been genetically modified in one way or another, whether that's from the emperors, people doing all sorts of mumbo jumbo or some warp magic, but they're cool. Nonetheless, they're super cool. I wish there were more of them, but I think I'm happy that there isn't much like perpetuals. We get to see them in action sometimes and we're like, yo, cool stuff. They're awesome, they're cool, and it gives you a new perspective, right? We're used to seeing the same characters, whether that's from, again, loyalist or heretical standpoints. And Space Marine personalities, hot take here, they all kind of have the same personality. You're a trader, you have more room to sort of express yourself and obviously and whatnot, but you're still kind of contained to being this guy who's evil and is constantly trying to succeed but won't succeed. And even if you do succeed, it doesn't really amount to much in the setting because everyone's on the verge of collapsing and dying. You're a loyalist, your whole personality is for the Emperor, for this, but these pseudo Marines kind of don't follow that logic. Corpharon doesn't have the hypno indoctrination. Luther obviously fell to chaos. Chaos withdrew from him. He's a unique character all by himself. Savona, normal mortal woman, is now basically on par with Space Marines, and same with the other lady I mentioned in the Storm of Iron. We don't get to see them out that often. So when we do see them, it's a treat, and it kind of leads to some speculatory theory stuff that you can nerd out on, like, oh, if we somehow got these, genetic practices back, can we make baseline humans stronger? Would the guard be kind of beefed up? Would it make sense to distribute this gene therapy to everybody? Or can Chaos make anybody, of anybody, whoever, a Chaos Lord, basically a proto-Astartes, from the lowliest cultist to a normal person, just beef up, It's cool, it's speculatory, and it's fun to nerd out on. We don't really have a lot of people talking about it, and it's cool, It's not often where you see characters who kind of break the norm in Warhammer, even though that's kind of weird to say, because you do see characters do outlandish stuff, but not like this, where they already had a previous role assigned to them, which were, i.e. like regular mortal people, and now they're sort of demigods in their own right. We don't get to see that often. That's like me getting up here already. Normal dude, just right here, and then all of a sudden I get all these genetic modifications done to me, and I'm like, can't fit through the door. I'm walking through the door like this, You don't get to see that often where people get to switch roles in Warhammer. Usually everybody's pretty locked into where they are, but now these people have more freedom to move and get new positions, like, become champions of chaos or become Space Marines or at least the equivalent and do cool shit. You don't get to see that often. Sorry, I just think they're cool. Long story short, they're cool, and I think you should probably find them cool too, but if you don't, you should. Anyways, Angron's calmest son. Hopes you enjoyed the video. If you watched the whole thing, it's always appreciated, and I will see you guys later.